And it was really good because it's a great way to get to know people, which is why we're calling it Getting to Know You. And especially, I did ask for a third person, but one got stuck in America and the other one's gone to the airport. So that's where we're at the moment. So Amy, do you want to? Get on this. Is this on? Am I on, Dan? Hello, 1, 2. 1, 2. So you could use that.
Used one of these before.
You just put it near your mouth.
Put it near my mouth.
Yes, you probably can, but there are people watching, and it's being recorded. It is, but although there is something wrong with our stream at the moment, so apologies to those who watch it online. So I've got a set of questions I've already shared, and the first question is a simple one, which is, who are you and where are you from?
Okay, so my name's Amy, and I'm originally from London, northwest London, and then when I was 10, my family moved to Australia. So we stayed there for quite a long time, but my family sort of on stages drifted back here. So in 2014, I suggested to my husband that we also come here, and he surprisingly said yes. So we decided to move with our 2 young kids to the UK, and yeah, we've been here since 2015 and really enjoying it. Feels a bit like Australia today. It's very hot.
A cool Australia day.
A cool Australia day, yes.
So, how did you get to come to EGCC?
Well, you asked me the question before, the question after that, and then I'll come back to that.
Okay, do that. You
okay?
Answer. What question do you want to answer?
So, when did you first...
Okay, when did you first hear about Christ or Christianity?
Okay, so I was brought up as a Catholic when I was young. My mum came from
Can you hear at the back? Just checking. Just have to hold it a bit closer.
All right, a bit closer. Here we go.
Do you want to turn us up?
So my mum was a Protestant and my dad came from a Catholic family. And when they got married, my mum converted to Catholicism. But it ended up that my dad was not really practicing Catholic. He was more sort of a Catholic in name. So it ended up being mum taking us to a Catholic church from when we were very young. And we had one here in England, and then we had another one when we went to Australia that we joined. And I remember church being all very formal, and there's a set structure to the service. And there's also, I went to a Catholic secondary school in Australia, and I think when you're a teenager, you test a lot of boundaries and question a lot of the decisions that are made, particularly in the Catholic Church, regarding how that deals with people. And I sort of turned away from the church because I didn't feel like it had the right sort of message for me at the time. So I lived without God for a very long time, and God was never really that far away because my husband's parents are both very godly people. In fact, they're both priests in Australia. And so I bet they were praying for us, and they're still praying for us, particularly my husband, to, see what they were trying to tell us all along about it. So when I moved to Australia, moved here, it was difficult. I was in a job that I didn't like, and in the end, I quit my job. I was in a very dark place, and my good friend Joanne was with me, and I think the Holy Spirit works so strongly through some people, and Joanne's one of these people. So she guided me. And she was never too pushy because she knew that I wasn't a church-going Christian or anything like that at the time. But she suggested from a more academic point of view to have a look at the Bible. And she invited me along to a Bible study with another lady called Linda on a Tuesday morning, and with Jana. and we started looking at the Gospel of John. And we didn't start at the beginning. We started at John 4, and it was, I think, because Joanne had, or the Holy Spirit had a plan through Joanne. So I'm going to share with you today, but I'm not sure how I'm going to manage Bible,
just go with
microphone,
whatever you...
whatever. Okay, so this is from John 4. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it is quite long, but I'm going to read a particular part of it. So those of you that don't know what John 4 is about, it's about the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. And so Jesus was by himself, the disciples were off doing something else. And there was a woman, he was sitting by the well, which is Jacob's well, which you can read back in Genesis about. But he was sitting there, and this woman came up. And when the Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" His disciples had gone into the town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew, and I am a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with Samaritans." Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you the living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as he did also his sons and his livestock?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst." Okay, so what that sort of meant to me was it doesn't really matter to Jesus who you are and where you come from and what's happened to you. He's always going to be there to offer us the living water and to offer us life. And today we sang a lot of songs about his sacrifice that he did for, excuse me, that he did for us. And I guess one other point, I think we've gone off topic, but that's okay, isn't it?
Fine, go for it.
Another point that's really important to me, and it's related to the wells, is God provides us with everything. We would have nothing. There would be nothing if it wasn't for God. So the fact that it's at a well, there's living water, that's primal to our existence, is to have this, and he provides it for us. And I think before I met Christ, and still somewhat now, because I'm still a learner, I thought I was in control, and I'd get really caught up when I couldn't control situations. I didn't know how to deal with that, and I'd get really angry and frustrated. And the thing there is that I'm not in control. God's in control. And all I need to do now is to pray to God and to let him know, and then to trust what he is going to do. And yeah.
Excellent. The questions are just to facilitate all that you're doing, which I've just deleted. No, I haven't. Here we go. So clearly, Joe was a connection with you being here, but knowing a little bit, you kind of came to know something of the Lord, but that didn't mean that you just started coming to church.
No.
Was there a reason behind that?
I think, I continued with the Bible studies for a lot, and we worked all the way through John. And then we went back to the beginning and did the beginning bit of John, which was good. And I think Jesus is so awesome in John. He comes across as so relatable and such a hero. And, he stands up for what's right, and he, has basic command, which is to love one another as I have loved you. And I don't know, he stood up to a lot of corruption at the time, which I think is particularly coming from a Catholic background. There was a lot of it in the church, and I think it, when you read the Bible, you see what the message is for yourself rather than what someone's presenting a message to you. So I really enjoyed that, and I think through reading it, and sort of we looked at a little bit at Acts and the early church as well, is the church has an important part in the community and in being a Christian, and it's, you know, it's more about God wants us to come together and be together and to help each other with our own different varying skills, and to support each other. And I think that's an important part that was missing from my life. So, and I get to come and sing and worship God with people who are so blessed by God with their voices, who sing amazingly every week. So, thank you.
So, one thing that people might not know about is what you do in your day job. I think that might be interesting. Yeah.
That is kind of interesting. Okay. So I was a teacher for a long time. I was a maths teacher, and I got a little bit. I was kind of pushed into the career because there's not too many jobs for mathematicians when they come out, and I was more into being around people than sitting in front of a computer doing loads of work. So I went into teaching, and it was fun for a bit, but working with people who aren't interested in what I'm interested in, I found very challenging, and I didn't have the skill set to deal with those children. So I, in the end, had to leave that career. And I was thinking, what could I do? And after a lot of searching, I've gone back to study so that I can hopefully teach people at a higher level that, you know, I can share my skills. But I've had to pick sort of a topic to work within, which is an interesting topic to work within when you're a Christian, and that's to do with evolution and biology, and how my particular project's looking at cancer and treatment on a cellular level, and doing the maths behind that. I don't do any of the actual biology stuff. But it is interesting because there's some... Like, what I do is investigate the rules that govern these tiny little particles that are inside us that God created. And we have to make some pretty big assumptions about how he makes it work. But there is beauty in what he does, and there are patterns in what he does, and there is order in what he does. And I think that... I hope that I can share some of that from the point of view of this is God's work that he is doing. This is God's creation, and we shouldn't be scared of discovering about the interesting parts that he puts there for us to find out.
And well, the last question was, is there any defining moment that you'd like to share as something that God has done in your life or has revealed to you, or that comes to mind?
I think there's been a few. I think when I start to really pray to God and, really talk to him and start to have that relationship, he starts to bless me with things. And things might be as small as a rainbow appearing to cheer me up, or something huge like giving me the thing I require to help me, giving me, when I got my grant to do the study, I was very, very sort of needing something, and God gave it to me. So it's, I guess it's those little things. One on a bus, I remember, and I text Jana and Joe about it because I was feeling pretty down and I was praying, and it was miserable on that bus. And then that light shone through right onto me, and I knew God was there saying, look, it's going to be okay. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. That's lovely. Thank you. I feel like I could just sit here and listen a bit more, to be honest. But we got Dan waiting in the wings. But thank you, Amy. That was wonderful. what's so good about this time is that there are many things that you can spend time with people and not know. And there can be practical things, but stories. You know, someone's working with cancer. You know, maybe the Lord will give you, suddenly see the mathematics behind the cure. And so Dan, so who are you and where do you come from?
My name's Dan Osgood. I was born in Lambeth, King's College Hospital, 28 years ago.
I've got a feeling that he's a quieter one because I've got a loud voice.
Oh.
Just wave if it's quiet at the back.
Yeah, so I was born at King's for the first 5 years of my life.
Is it on? Yeah, okay. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, there I was. So for the first 5 years of my life, I lived in South East London, in Nottingham. And then at the age of 6, my parents decided to become missionaries, and we moved to Jordan. Okay, I need to change. John.
I just need to turn it on.
Hello. So at the age of 6, my parents decided to become missionaries and move to Jordan, which is in the Middle East, near Syria and Iraq. So from the age of 6 to 10, we lived there, and my parents were part of a team there called Operation Mobilisation. I went to school there, did the normal kid stuff I do over there. I went to school. Part of my family life was do what my parents did. We went to different retreats, conferences around the Middle East. It was quite interesting. Get to know some different people from around the world. And then at the age of 10, my parents had their decision to make whether to stay there for my secondary school life or come back here to England. So at the age of 10, we moved back in 2005 to North London, so near Wembley and all that area. So we moved there from the age of 10 till 18. I was there for secondary school and part of what my parents did there. And then my parents left their job there, and we were at a time of, do we continue to stay or do we come back to South East London, because I was sending church with this side. So at the age of 18, we as a family, we decided to, we prayed about it and we decided to move back to South East London.
So some might not know that you have a connection to this church. So it might be interesting to, or shall I mention that? I'll mention that. So some of you might not know that before this church started, is this not working? That's working. Some might not know that before this church, so this church was started about 48 years ago. Got to do what my wife says. About 48 years ago, but before that, there was a version of this, and it was started by my dad, Terry Watson, down at Elton Green, number 4 Elton Green. That's the beginning of this church. But before that, there was also a church that was started in Bromley with my mum and dad and a couple called Hugh and Marion Osgood and some others. And Hugh Osgood is the granddad of Dan Osgood. And when you see Dan and you see Hugh Osgood, you see it. So if you know Hugh Osgood, he looks like that when he was his age. So it's just another little connection, I think you could say, isn't it, with the church. But what brought you to EGCC? So
at the time when I was 18, I was the only young adult at my church at the time. It was me and about 6 other people under 18, and I was praying to move to another church. I felt right to move on. We've been there almost just under 10 years, and at the church I had always been known as Mum and Dad's young child. I wasn't my own person. So I felt right and prayed with a couple of friends to move on to a local church nearer to my home. But I didn't want to go too far because I thought it was good to be part of a community and a part of a family at the time. So a certain Drew Liddon started to date a certain Hannah Liddon about 8 years ago. And Drew was mentioning a bit about church and about this community feeling. I thought, okay, I'll go and visit it 8 years ago on the 30th of August, 2015. So yeah, it was and they weren't there on the day. It was quite funny. But yeah, I decided to visit you guys, and I've been here ever since.
Part of the furniture, as they say. So obviously you would have known about Christ since you were a baby, coming from a Christian family. But at what point did you, or was there a point where you was like, I am deciding to follow Jesus?
As John mentioned earlier, my granddad used to run the church in Bromley. So first 5 years of my life, the church was part of my family life. My granddad was a church leader. My dad was the Sunday school teacher. My aunt was the other Sunday school teacher. So basically my whole family ran the church. So I didn't really have a choice. So the first 5 years I was part of the church, I was the favourite person in the church because I was the oldest grandson of the pastor. So everyone loved me. I realised one Sunday evening when I was 5, we had this church meeting and talking about Jesus and how he was a father to us and how he loved us. And that it wasn't about your parents' relationship or just going to church or having so many family members be part of the church. It's about your own relationship with him. It wasn't, oh, you're this person's family member, so you're a Christian already. Is the key I felt, and the key still now, I've come to realise, is that relationship with him. So one Sunday evening, I asked my parents to pray with me to become a Christian. And yeah, so yeah, I've done that ever since. And then at the age of 15, I decided to get baptised in North London at the time. Because yeah, I was at a what youth campfire, and that just hit me like I would like to make a commitment of faith to people around me. So, yeah.
So I don't know if you want to share your testimony of when you came into the world. And so I think that's a great story, an encouraging story.
So I was born in February 1995, but I was actually meant to be born in end of May, start of June 1995. So I was 26 weeks early. My mum's waters broke, and I decided to come early into the world. Yes, definitely. So I decided, and at the time, it was a natural birth, and it was a natural, usual thing that happens at birth. But after that, I became quite ill, and I had to get my stomach, part of my stomach removed. I got only half a bowel. So where all of you, or most of you, got a full bowel, about in the middle of March, start of April, I had to have a severe operation because I became ill. And I think about that time I actually died. My parents got this call at 2 a.m. in the morning saying, you have to come to the hospital now. otherwise, but they said, no, don't come, so I came round, and yeah, I've realised now that part of that story is key, because there's things that I can think about and speak to people over, that because he was with me all those years ago in that hospital, in that incubator hospital bed. And yeah, that time was key. From then and now on, I've been able to realise, even though it was a moment I don't really remember, because I was a baby, but I knew that it was significant then and always will be. And I'm proud to do, even though it's hard to talk about, we get emotional, it's also a proud moment because it is a God thing that I'm still alive today.
Correct me if I'm wrong, what was quite instrumental was obviously your mum and dad having faith in the Lord, was that they had themselves and others praying for you, because as you say, you literally died. I don't know for how long, but... and what about now? I mean, in terms of a more recent testimony, what would you say has been instrumental in your life?
There are many, but I'll just stick to one. So it was actually 2015. It was just before I came here. The summer of 2015, I was looking for work, and I was getting down and not in the right place. I was basically unhappy. I thought everything would be perfect, so when I turned 18, I would get a job. I'll stick in that job, and that's it, and I'll stay there until I retire, which is many years' time. But at that time, the jobs weren't working out, because I was a carpenter at the time, and I wasn't that experienced in the building trade. So I was praying with a couple of friends, and they said, "Have you ever thought of moving into office work, doing being part of an office or doing admin?" I thought, no, that's not me at all, and I was proved wrong, because what I came to realise is that the skills God has given me, or people skills and talking to people, is part of an office. It's not really a construction site. So at that time, I paid with the trend, and a door opened to work in the civil service in Bromley, in the DWP. I've been there ever since. So yeah, that's probably the key moment in the last 10 years, because it was a moment where I was questioning what to do regarding future and regarding employment, and that door opened, which I personally thought never would, because it wasn't me, but that person who spoke to me proved me wrong. And yeah, so yeah, that was a key moment. And yeah, what I always felt was key was that God can use ways and people that you just think, no, you're wrong, but you know 5 years down the line they're right. And you don't like to question it or don't like to tell them, but between you and God, they know that they're right. But yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Unless there's anything particularly you want to share, great. It's been great to hear from you. And then, we now have the privilege of having Emma. Emma, you can come and sit on the sofa. Thank you. So Emma's been to an undisclosed location, which we don't talk about because it's of where it is, but gone to see some dear friends of ours, which I don't know. Do we need to mention? I don't know. Yeah, but many of us will know that Emma's been abroad to visiting some people that serve in the Lord, that are part of the church here. So.
So a little while ago, I was thinking about what to do at half term, because obviously both my boys, well, Teo's studying for his A-levels and he's halfway through them at the moment, and Dirk's at uni, and I was like, what can I do? And also my dad died last year, and normally I would have gone away with him. And I was like, what can I do this half term? I don't want to be, at home. And literally this little voice came into my head, which was definitely God, and it was saying, oh, go and visit X and Y in Central Asia. And so I didn't have their contact details, so I spoke to Rachel, and Rachel gave me the contact details, and literally I got an email back straight away saying, yes, come, please come, and could I bring another suitcase full of toys so that the children's play groups, or the, nurse, I've forgotten the word, what's the word I want for, like our little angels group here. So could I bring some stuff to support this? And then Rachel suggested doing a fundraiser, which she'd already been thinking about doing this. So we did a sort of Just Giving page and put that out to lots of different people, and we raised about £1,000. So to anyone that donated, thank you very much. And then they made a list of the sort of things they wanted. So, for example, they wanted a wooden train set, because one of the problems out there is that all the toys are plastic. It's very, very hard to get durable toys that last for a long time. And we collected the various things. They also wanted a parachute. They wanted some toys for, playing outside. And we collected quite a lot of stuff, and then we managed to put it into 2 suitcases, and Teo was very helpful in standing on the scales with the 2 suitcases and making sure that we had got the right amount in both suitcases. In the end, we couldn't take everything, but it also taught me about forward planning, because I'm terrible. I'm lastminute.com, running around the house at midnight for, a 5 o'clock flight the next morning, flinging things in. But actually, I had to be really organised, and so I packed really lightly, which is very unusual for me, isn't it, Teo? Yes. And anyway, we got there, got to the airport, met them the other end. It was a long flight, but I didn't mind that. I had my book, so I was fine. And I had a most wonderful week with them. Their children are lovely. They're bilingual now. They're growing up into beautiful young children that they can be very, very proud of. And I had a lovely time playing with them. And they organised lots of things for me to go and do. So we went into the mountains, and I saw what was very traditional is all the families at the weekends go into the mountains. They can't go to their favourite spot. They just have to literally take the spot that is free, because it's everybody up there, cars everywhere, all along the roadside. And they all have barbecues. And anyway, we walked in the mountains, so that was lovely. And I also went to church there, which was very, very like being here, except in a different language, but literally the format was the same. And then I did the play group with them, and set up all the toys, met the parents, all the mothers, and was able to talk to them about communicating with their children. So they were very keen that I spoke to parents that maybe had a child with a need. And I did meet a couple of mothers that had children with a need, and I was able to talk about, the best ways in developing their communication skills. And one mum in particular was like, well, I haven't heard this information before, and was asking lots of questions. So I felt that was a really good, I was really glad to have been able to be there and offered her that kind of support. So we did that. I also met some ladies who were learning English. I mean, their English was quite good, but they're running a radio station, which can't be overtly Christian, but again, they were trying to get their message across. But I met with them and spoke, you know, so they could practice their English, and that was a really good experience about sharing, you know, how we'd all come to the Lord. I'm trying to think what else happened. But having come back, I couldn't take everything, so I've now made up another box of stuff. And I've got a tiny bit of space in there, so, and I hear we've still got a little bit more money, so I will probably buy a couple more things to go over there. And the rest of the money is just going to pay for the rental of the room. It's quite difficult over there. They can't find a room. They want you to rent the room for the whole time. It's not like there's a church hall that you can just rent by the hour. It's quite difficult to find a rental space. So I think that's something that we could pray for them in the future, that they can find spaces that are suitable. And also somewhere where they can store the stuff, because they can't store all the stuff at home. And also, it's quite difficult. So you can meet people, obviously, through the church, or you meet people that want